Southeast Asia is a land of beautiful beaches, dense rainforests, mighty rivers, and volcanic mountains. Agricultural products sold in its colorful markets reveal that its farmlands are productive. Nature parks provide refuge for numerous species of birds, reptiles, and mammals. And its people have a long history of living in a tropical environment. Southeast Asia is located south of China and to the east of the Indian subcontinent. It is made up of 2 peninsulas and 2 archipelagos. A peninsula is a body of land that extends out into water, and an archipelago is a group of islands. The Indochina Peninsula is an extension of the Asian mainland. The countries of Myanmar, Thailand, Laos, Cambodia, and Vietnam lie on this peninsula. Another peninsula, the Malay Peninsula, extends southward from the Indochina Peninsula. The southern parts of Myanmar and Thailand are on the northern part of this long, narrow peninsula. The main part of the country of Malaysia lies on the southern part of the peninsula. The city of Singapore is located on an island off the southern tip of the Malay Peninsula. This small city-state is a global center for international trade and commerce. The Strait of Malacca is a narrow body of water that lies between the Malay Peninsula and the Indonesian island of Sumatra. This strait has great strategic importance because it provides a water route between the Indian Ocean and the Java Sea. Sumatra is part of the Indonesian archipelago. This archipelago is made up of thousands of islands, most of which are part of the country of Indonesia. The large island of Borneo is divided between the countries of Indonesia, Malaysia, and Brunei. The Indonesian part of Borneo is called Kalimantan. The Philippine archipelago is northeast of Malaysia and is also made of thousands of islands. These islands are all part of the nation known as the Philippines. Much of Southeast Asia is hot all year and wet for at least part of the year. The Indonesian archipelago lies along the equator where rain showers are common all year round. The rest of Southeast Asia lies north of the equator in the tropical zone of the northern hemisphere. It has a climate that is affected by seasonal winds known as the monsoons. The summer monsoon brings rain because the winds pick up moisture as they blow across the warm oceans toward the land. In the fall, the winds reverse their direction and blow from the Asian interior toward the sea. These winds bring cool, dry weather. In spring, the temperature begins to rise, and by May, much of the Southeast Asian mainland is very hot. Fields are prepared for planting at this time of year so that the crops will be watered by the summer monsoon rains. The type of natural vegetation in Southeast Asia varies with the length of the dry season and with elevation. Broadleaf evergreen forests that are full of moisture-loving plants are found in equatorial regions where rain falls all through the year. On the densely populated Indonesian islands of Java and Bali, farmers tend their fields where once there was rainforest. The soils on these islands are much more productive than the soils in most of the world's tropical regions because they have been enriched by ash from frequent volcanic eruptions. Extensive forests are still found on the island of Borneo. Many of these forested areas have no roads, so people have to travel along the routes of jungle streams by boat. Farther north, on the Malay and Indochina peninsulas, the rainy months of summer are followed by a dry season. Monsoon forest is the natural vegetation in these regions. During the rainy season, the trees and shrubs are covered with leaves. When the dry season comes, the plants lose all or most of their leaves. That's why the monsoon forest is also called the rain-green forest. Wood from Southeast Asia's monsoon forest is very valuable, and many areas have been heavily logged. Teak is the most valuable kind of tree in the monsoon forest. In Thailand, furniture manufacturing is a major industry that uses teak and other tropical woods. Most of Thailand's teak forests have been cut, so its neighbor, Myanmar, now produces about 80% of the world's teak wood. World demand makes teak logs and other tropical woods one of Myanmar's most important exports. Southeast Asia's remaining monsoon forests are home to many kinds of wildlife, including monkeys and gibbons. Gibbons are small, long-armed apes that spend most of their time in the treetops. A few thousand tigers still prowl in remote areas. These large members of the cat family are also on the world's endangered species list. Elephants such as these have been captured from wild herds. They have been used as work animals for many centuries. In earlier times, they were used in battles. Because much of Southeast Asia's monsoon forest land has been cut or cleared for agriculture, there has been a great decrease in habitats for wildlife. Fortunately, several countries have established forest reserves and wildlife sanctuaries so that some of the natural heritage may be preserved. Southeast Asia has no deserts, but a few areas on the Indochina Peninsula have very long dry seasons. These areas are known as the dry zones. Thorny woodlands with numerous drought-adapted plants grow in these dry areas. Southeast Asia has many different kinds of landforms. Along the coast, broad sand beaches alternate with dramatic cliffs. Further inland, hills and mountains rise above plains and river valleys. Only a few of Southeast Asia's mountains rise over 4,000 meters, but many of the slopes are very steep. Numerous volcanoes are found on the islands of Indonesia and the Philippines. These islands lie along a zone of volcanic activity and earthquakes that encircles the Pacific Ocean. This circle is called the Pacific Ring of Fire because of frequent volcanic eruptions. Some of the volcanoes are dormant or extinct, but many are active and can erupt at any time. Volcanic eruptions often bring great devastation to nearby areas, but the ash from the eruptions restores the fertility of the soil. Most lowland areas are found along coastlines and in river valleys. On the Southeast Asian mainland, highlands separate broad river basins that have been filled with materials deposited by floods. Soils that develop from these deposits are called alluvial soils. Alluvial soils, like volcanic soils, are rich in nutrients and usually remain fertile even when crops are planted on them year after year. As a result, much of Southeast Asia's best farmland is found along its rivers. The region's principal rivers are the Irrawaddy, the Chao Phraya, the Mekong, and the Red. The Irrawaddy River flows through Myanmar and reaches the sea near the capital city of Yangon. Boats can travel upstream into the interior in 1,400 kilometers. This makes the Irrawaddy a major route of transportation and communication. The Chao Phraya River flows through Thailand's capital city of Bangkok. The river provides an easy means of transportation in contrast with the city's crowded streets. Many canals connect the Chao Phraya's main stream with residential districts in the city and with farm villages in the countryside. Here, farmers sell produce that they have brought to market by boat. The Mekong River is the longest river in Southeast Asia. It flows 4,180 kilometers from its source in the Tibetan highlands of China to its delta in southern Vietnam. After leaving China, the Mekong cuts through the mountains of northern Laos. Here, it flows past a sacred cave filled with images of the Buddha, and then curves past the former Laotian capital of Luang Prabang. At Vientiane, the present capital of Laos, the Mekong marks the boundary between Laos and Thailand. In Cambodia, the river passes the capital of Phnom Penh before separating into distributaries that spread across Vietnam's Mekong Delta. Vietnam's other major stream is the Red River. This river provides water for rice paddies in the fertile plains surrounding Hanoi. The type of farming that developed in the river valleys of Southeast Asia uses large amounts of labor to get the most food from every small bit of land. This kind of farming is called intensive agriculture. In the river basin and delta areas, paddy rice cultivation is the most important form of intensive agriculture. In addition to rice, Southeast Asian farmers grow many kinds of vegetables and tropical fruits. Water buffalo and oxen are used as work animals. Farmers also keep chickens and pigs. Southeast Asia is a region of peninsulas and islands. Indonesia lies along the equator and has a rainy tropical climate. Some areas are still covered with rainforest. Most of the rest of the region has a tropical monsoon climate characterized by a summer rainy season followed by a winter dry season. Landforms range from coastal plains and flat river basins to steep mountains. Southeast Asia's fragmented landscape of fertile areas separated from each other by hills, forests, or seas has led people to cluster in scattered lowlands and along coastlines. In this way, the land and its resources have strongly affected the region's history, cultural development, and economy.